رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا والنساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلي لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فوز فوزا عظيما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة دلالة وكل دلالة في النار قال الله تعالى في القرآن من صلاة التوبة يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله ثاقلتم إلى الأرض. We began, inshallah, by seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Shaitan, who is indeed the cursed and the rejected. Indeed, the praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His aid. We ask for His forgiveness. And we rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our needs. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil that is in our own selves, from those low desires that seem to overwhelm us from time to time. Whomsoever Allah Azza wa Jal guides, there's none to mislead him. And he who Allah leaves astray because of some choice or some decision that this individual has made, there's none to lead him aright. And I openly bear witness to the fact that there's no thing and no one worthy of worship except Allah Ta'ala. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is indeed His obedient servant and messenger. But he, the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has said that the most truthful speech is the speech of Allah. And that the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That the worst of matters are those newly invented matters. And every newly invented matter is an innovation. It is a heresy. And every bid'ah is a misguidance or going astray. And every going astray leads to no place except to the fire. We made an effort to read from the Quran, Allah's statement, where He has said to the believers, O you who believe, what is the matter with you that when you are asked, when you are called to march or to go forth in the cause of Allah, fi sabilillah, that you cling heavily to the earth? And so, just some background regarding this ayat. It was during the 8th year of the Hijrah that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam led a military expedition against the Romans or the Byzantines. That's really the context for the ayat. And he marched on the Romans or the Byzantines to, of course, spread Islam, but also to attack or destroy some idols. With Lut, Muzza, a bunch of names of some stones. And this verse is about that, the Battle of Tabuk. It relates to the call to go forth, fi sabilillah, or to exert oneself, to do something, fi sabilillah, when called to. And the verse and those that follow also relate to the excuses that the people gave for not going forth when they were called to do so. And I think of this verse when I think of the call to make a sacrifice, fi sabilillah, to give up something because the law asked. And of course we're talking about this because this is, Al-Adha is coming, the Hajj, and all these things relate to the idea of making a sacrifice. And as I think about sacrifice, I'm forced to think about my own reactions when called. Inshallah, when there's a clear statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's indisputable, without question, how do I react? I'm also called to think about not only how I react, my own reactions, but the rationalizations and the justifications and the things that we think about for making a sacrifice. And on the flip side, about those times when we do not, when I do not. Don't know what anybody else does. And in each case, if we are to evidence some honesty and integrity with respect to our own selves, I know that my willingness to sacrifice, as well as my reluctance to do so, are both rooted in the degree of knowledge that I have about what it is that I'm doing. And also the degree of my own faith, or the lack of knowledge that I have about what it is that I'm doing, and also the lack of faith. A prerequisite for any understanding about the virtues of sacrifice, about the benefits of sacrifice, is having a basic understanding about the relationship of sacrifice to the idea of struggle. It is also related to the significance or the importance that struggle holds for each of us individually in our Islamic life. Throughout the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the concept struggle. And I'm trying to be careful with the words because often words are misconstrued. So we're just speaking struggle. His mention of struggle and the number of times or the frequency that he mentions struggle suggests that it is a fundamental principle of the Islamic way of life. As we continue to mature as Muslims, we should understand or begin to understand that Islam is more than just verbal attestation. Although we entered Islam with a verbal attestation, the Shahada. And even as we have verbalized the Shahada, it should be clear that we must begin to translate these words into actions. And we do this all the time when we talk about, I do research methods and I ask people to define an idea, and then I also ask them, well, how do you know it when you see it? Because we can talk a talk, but how do we demonstrate what we're talking about? And we have to do this with the Shahada. And let's just stay with the most basic principle in Islam, La ilaha illallah. We have to live the Shahada. So the question that each of us must, ask ourselves every day of this utterance, because we say this at least 17 or so times a day. How am I doing? How am I doing this? How am I demonstrating La ilaha illallah? Among the things that we have come to understand that doing the Shahada is ceaseless. If we are doing it never stops. And in doing it, what we will be doing is confronting all of the false deities, all of the false gods, all those things that beckon us contrary to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, that are inside of us. We ain't got to look too far. The first thing it is, confronting all those urges and all those impulses that are inside of us that are contrary to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. And in addition to that, it is confronting those things that are outside of us as well. For we have an internal environment and we have an external environment, and we have to take all these things into consideration. If we are to do the Shahada, it will require an endless effort to reshape ourselves. I'm hoping that makes some sense. You know what I mean? Trying to make ourselves, conform ourselves, comport ourselves, look like Muslims. At least look for a start. Our being Muslim requires becoming Muslim. And the word Muslim is a kind of an action thing. It is something that one does. It's not something that one professes. It is something that we must do. And the Muslim means to submit. So the question is, am I submitting? Am I being this? Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. Am I submitting to the Lord of all the worlds? Am I submitting? Becoming Muslim means to command the self to live the statement, La ilaha illallah. And again, we have to, in our minds, in ourselves, think about, what actually am I saying? Commanding the self means using every available resource within our own selves. Every available resource to combat those false claimants to Allah's rububiyyah, to Allah's lordship, to the fact that Allah alone is master. Everything inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves that seeks to move Allah in our mind off of the throne, because Allah will forever be Lord. It will require us to use every resource that is available to us to fight oppression and corruption, because as our brother, father, Nabi Yunus said, Yusuf, verily, the soul, the man is inclined towards evil. We have an inclination. We lean towards that which is evil. And of course, he says, save thee which our Lord has mercy. But these ideas or these impulses, whatever it is inside of ourselves or and outside of ourselves, they seek to overpower us. They seek to prevent us from being even just to our own selves. And there are very clear ayahs that talk about, the extent to which we have transgressed against our community of self. For me, the problem always begins with me. And so we talk about a community of self. And I jokingly, mention, me, myself, and I. That's us. But the fact of the matter is that Allah Azza wa Jalla says, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves. So we do commit evil. The individual commits evil against his own self. And we ain't talking about, as many of us attempt to do what somebody else is doing. We're talking about what we do to ourselves. And if it did not take place, Allah Azza wa Jalla would not save that. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla commands every individual, save yourself. Which again suggests that we have an obligation to look out for ourselves. And this is not a selfish thing. This is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I have to always begin with the self. So in my mind, I'm clearly, not that interested in directing the conversation beyond the person that is in the mirror, because it's with that person that every conversation must first be directed. We gotta believe that. And so as I continue to struggle to gain some knowledge, information, because I always say information because knowledge is that which is practiced. If I ain't doing it, it's just information. You know, just like, you know, they talk about the donkey with a bunch of books. He got all kinds of information, but he ain't doing nothing. What's the point in having the information? Knowledge is that which is manifested. I got all kinds of information. You got the internet. We got a shelf full of books. So as I continue to struggle to digest, to comprehend, to act upon those things that I have available to me, I'm beginning to understand that the path of Islam cannot be anything other than a path of struggle. We've got to struggle to move. If we look at struggle, that's just an act of assertion. You know, I have to work. I got to work to get up. I got to exert some energy to get up out of my chair. Struggle. In a very simple sense, but still, if you're going to move, you have to exert some kind of energy. You got to struggle. And that takes work. And different works, you know, different levels of, you know, assertion or exertion, but it's work nonetheless. And so as I continue to gain some understanding about, you know, these ideas, that movement on the path of struggle, then I also begin to understand that movement along this path is accompanied by sacrifice. And if I am certain that I am attempting to travel the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and I got to be certain. A lot of us, I don't know, sometimes we act as if we're not certain. Let's just put it that way. If I am certain that I am attempting to travel a path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I must know that this effort may not be accomplished merely by wishing. I can't wish my way along the path. You know, we used to talk about eating wish cream and air pie. I'm going to be hungry. There ain't no substance in wishing. If I'm certain that I know this cannot be accomplished merely by me desiring to do so. I know that this cannot be accomplished merely by me professing to do so. You know, one of the things I used to say, I don't claim to be Muslim. What I claim, if I'm going to claim anything, is that I'm striving. I can't make that claim. Who am I to make that claim? I can claim that I'm trying. And only I and Allah Azza wa Jal know the extent of my effort. Whether I'm turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wholeheartedly or where I'm just tipping along. Because the truth of the matter is that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell us whether or not we are truly Muslim. Right now, I'm trying. I'm not going to know unless Allah Azza wa Jal says, Abdullah, Lord have mercy. Because to make the claim now is the height of arrogance. We make this assumption that we are, and how can we? We can make the claim that we're trying. Because often when we make these claims, we sit down and we rest. I'm Muslim. Really? I know for certainty that I can't just make claims and make statements. So that forces me to reevaluate everything. Because we've been accustomed to just doing a lot of talking. And how can we ever hope to reach the destination that we have set for ourselves without struggling hard? And Allah Azza wa Jalla reminds us of this in the Quran when he says, do the men, and do the people think that they're mere saying we believe, that they will be left to themselves and will not be put to the test, will not be tried, based on what it is that they are saying. And we certainly put to the test those that were before them. Allah is saying that this is what we did to the people that made these claims, made these statements before you, we're going to do the same thing to you. Be ready. And so if I am to struggle, then I know I have to make some sacrifices. We all have to, come up with some understanding about what we mean, by sacrifice. Because each of us can listen to or read the same word and come away with a different kind of understanding. It's not important what it means to me, as far as you're concerned. What's important to you is what it means to you, because you're going to act on what you know, how you understand it. We can have some conversations, but it's still going to be your interpretation. So I'm trying to understand sacrifice for me, but as I've come to know that being able to sacrifice will contribute to the success that I seek, if the success that I seek is the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, we were saying that, we think we trying to travel this path, Siratul Mustaqim. Well, at the end of every path, there is some type of, destination, some type of objective, some type of goal, some place you're trying to go. And every act of sacrifice, that I willingly engage in without hesitation, nourishes and increases my faith. Because I said from the very beginning, when I don't sacrifice, it is an indication of my ignorance, of my lack of knowledge about the veracity or the truthfulness about whatever it is that I'm doing. I don't really believe it. And if I don't, you say you don't believe something, then that's really an indication of the level or the degree of my faith. Sacrifice, if we truly understand it, transform all this rapping, all these verbal confessions and mental stuff into something that's real. I mean, a lot of us, we done heard a whole lot of talk. It's real when it's demonstrated. And a lot of us here are demonstrators. A lot of us here do things. We done did something. We stepped up. We volunteered for this. So we already have demonstrated that we have the ability to move. And however you translate that. But if I'm willing to make a sacrifice, and truly if you love somebody or something, you sacrifice. Those of you that have people that you love, in order to love them, you got to sacrifice. However you understand that. So when I sacrifice fi sabilillah, to some degree, it is a confirmation of whatever it is that I have been saying. And it also increases, or the hope is that it increases my love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm very careful about saying, at least in my own mind, certain things, because when I act contrary to what I said, then all I do is demonstrate that I'm lying. The best thing to do is keep quiet. Because if they ask you, do you love Allah? Yeah. Why do you disobey him? That ain't no love there. You lying. Best thing I could do is keep quiet. No comment. Because love for Allah, it has to be demonstrated. And so we are struggling to demonstrate that we are willing to give all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we're struggling to do. I mean, that's work. Because we have, people that have been deprived, everything that seems to come our way, we want to cling to it. We ain't trying to give it up. Listen, I've been broke. I've been eating sardines and Jack Mac. Anybody ever know what that is? You understand what I said? Spaghetti with tomato sauce. That was the meal. Hungry, shoes with holes and all that kind of stuff. But when you get 5 cents, you're trying to squeeze that joint. Oh, no. People say, people be tight when they be, this is my brother here, when they get their money, be screaming when they, ah! But the reality is that everything we have has been given to us by Allah. And every effort to give along this path towards Allah should be given, or should be engaged in with that knowledge. Everything that we have has been given to us by Allah. Everything. And so when we sacrifice, or when we give of that which we have, we are giving, inshallah, seeking Allah's love, for the sake of His love, for the sake of Him, just because of Him. We give for no other reason except to seek the countenance of Allah. So I just remember, yesterday, so I'm going to buy one of them $5 meals, halal meals, and you come past and the dude walks up to me and says, yo, bro, would you like to make a contribution towards some food? I said, what? First I thought it was like the slow stick up. You know how, you got on some shoes and some pants, the dude think you got some money. And I'm like, what you say? I mean, because, like some brothers is looking at me like, what you say? I said, would you like to make a contribution towards some food? I said, I'm trying to get some food myself. I ain't got nothing, man. And I walked off. And I walked off, put a bag with potato chips in the car, and I rolled back and I said, what's in the bag, man? I said, these are all my possessions. Because it looked like one of those 50-pound wool bags that they give dudes out of jail that you put all your stuff in. I said, that's all your stuff? I said, what, you just got out of jail? He says, nah, man. My situation kind of this, that, and the third messed up. And here you go, man. After I got past, my whatever it was, you know what I mean? It was an opportunity. Everything that we have has been given to us by Allah. And if He asks of what is rightfully His, are we willing to give it back? I'm just trying to reframe how I think about the things that I'm calling mine. If He asks, will we not give what belongs to the Master? And I'm saying this in conjunction with the time and the moment, because this is the time to think about the level and the quality of our sacrifice, of our giving. Let's use sacrifice. This is the time to think, as I have, about my own reactions. Like I said, when I do not, what's the basis of me refusing to sacrifice? How am I rationalizing this? How am I justifying not giving what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me? And He's just asking, yo, man, let me get that back. This is the time to think about, those sacrifices that people made who came before us. Think about, if you have parents, think about your parents. Think about your grandparents. Think about your children. Think about your intimate partners. Think about the people who gave up something for you to succeed in life. For us. Think about Ibrahim and Ismail, because that's, some of the things that we are trying to remember during this time. And their willingness to sacrifice that which they love simply because they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked them. There wasn't no second thought. They understood, this is what Allah is asking me to do. Let me get to doing. Each responded to the call without hesitation. And Allah has said in the Quran, in Ali Imran, never shall you attain unto righteousness until you give of that which you love. And Ibrahim, 86, first son, 86, first son, Allah said, sacrifice him. 86, first son. And he went to Ismail, he said, Ya Ismail, Allah said, I got to do this, that, and the third. And his son said, if this is what Allah commanded you to do, Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen, I submit to. So the father was willing to sacrifice that which he loved, his only son. And the son, hearing what he believed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was communicating to his father, asking for his life. Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. That's big time stuff. So when I think about what is important to me, each of us thinks about what is important to them. Some of us, give money so that you don't get my time. Listen, I'll give you a couple of dollars, but I ain't showing up. You don't really care nothing about the money. What you care about is your time. Me, time is significant. Time, I don't like to waste my time and be places. I ain't getting nothing out of this. So when I do present myself, this is myself. I'm talking to myself. Listen, if I'm going to show up, man, that's because I dig you a little bit. It's my time. So I consider time to be a precious asset because I know I ain't got that much of it. So I just want us to consider these things as we think about this idea of sacrifice, because these ideas have different meaning for each of us. I can't make no kind of interpretation for anybody except for myself. The only thing I can do is pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us strength, and that He increases us with knowledge and increases and makes our faith firm, so that if we are called to sacrifice fi sabilillah, we do so without hesitation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, ya al-azim. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa sallim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa samawati wal ard وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين. So, sacrifice. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-An'am, قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أحول المسلمون. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, and this is the statement of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah, speaking through Ibrahim, says, say to them, indeed my salah, my sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, the Lord of all that exists. He has no partner. And of this I have been commanded, and I am the first of those who, and here to use Ahwalul Muslimin, the first of the Muslims, or the first of those that submit, Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. Which clear, from a theological perspective, lets us know he was neither Jew or Christian, even though the Jews and the Christians claim Ibrahim for a patriarch, clearly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he says, Aslamtu li rabbil alameen. You know, I submit. Ahwalu Muslimin. I'm the first of the Muslims. So this is a lesson. But every time, you know, we had memorized this ayat, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahmati wa malnati lillahi rabbil alameen. I would always ask myself, is it true? Is it true? You reciting this, verily, indeed, you know, my salah, my sacrifice, my living, and my dying are for Allah. Is it true? It's just something for each of us individually to think about. We used to dhikr, inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyahi wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. Is it true? Allah says, and who is he that will lend to Allah a goodly loan so that he may multiply it to him, to himself, many times? And it is Allah that decreases or increases your provisions, and unto him you shall return. Isn't that interesting? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks, who gonna loan me something? Isn't that interesting? And then he says, you know, that it is he who decreases and increases our provisions, reminding us that everything that we have from him. Are we one of those people who will loan to Allah out of the treasures that he has given us? I mean, I think about that when I think about, you know, paying the zakah. Allah done made it possible for me to build up this little reserve. Let me get if I give you $1, let me get 2.5 cents back. What? 2.5 cents? Listen, I gave you the $1, I can't get 2.5 cents? Nah, man. What? I mean, if you gave a dude $1, you asked for 3 cents, oh, let me get 3 cents. And he said no, how would you feel about that? I mean, that's the common sense kind of thinking we got to do, you know what I'm saying, when it's time to pay the zakah. Allah gave me $1. He asked me back for 3 cents. I got a problem with that. What? What is the matter with you when called to go forth in the way of Allah? You cling heavily to the earth. What is the matter? What? That's why I got to keep asking myself, you know, in terms of, you know, the rationalizations and the justification that I give myself when I hesitate and I don't act. What's wrong with you, man? So let us think about what treasures Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. What has Allah given you? The ayah from the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that we have been given so much. But rarely are we asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything in return. Rarely. And if he does ask us for anything, he asks us for less. Like there's a hadith that these dudes, they say in the fire, and, you know, it was asked, if you had the treasures that were in the heavens and the earth to ransom yourself from this fire, would you do it? And they say, yeah, we'd do it. And then the response in return was that I asked you for less than that when you was on the planet. And now you want to give everything that is in heavens and everything that is in the earth to ransom your soul from here? Now? So what treasures have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given each of us? The very life that we have is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The very life. Because if we are real, we understand that from a state of non-existence, we did not bring ourselves into existence. Allah did that. Allah permitted us to live. And if we really want to think about it, in that moment of ejaculation, there were millions of sperm cells, millions, but only one survived. That was you. That was the struggle. In that world, in that universe, in that existence, that was the struggle. I mean, we was battling against millions of other creatures to survive. And we won by virtue or by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our mere existence is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What about your eyes? What about our eyes? What about our ears? What about every faculty that we have? What about every step? What about every breath? Some people ain't walking right. They wish they could walk. Some people rolling along in wheelchairs. Wish I could get up. Some people breathe on respirators. Some people got artificial lungs. What? How much of these gifts do I take for granted? These are among the treasures, and we just talking small talk. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, walking. These are among the treasures that we have from Allah. And soon, if we have not been asked, we will be asked directly to lend to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah says, who will loan to Allah? Are we willing? Because sometimes we can be willing, but we don't have the capacity. But are we willing? Sometimes we can be willing, but we don't have the ability. But are we willing? Actions are judged by intentions. Are we willing? That's all we ask. We ain't whether or not can you do it. Do you at least want to? Because that's where it starts. It starts with wanting to, just like we wanted to get on this path. Allah made it happen. Not a leaf falls, but by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But are we willing? Are we willing to act without hesitation, to give of the treasures that we have received? It should be clear, if ever anything is clear, that we have been given everything. If a fly, like Allah said, if a fly snatched something, we couldn't take it back. Yet, knowing that everything we have has been given to us by Allah, He knows this. He encourages us to lend to Him. Can I get a loan? Can I get a loan? And Allah, while asking, He knows what we need. He knows our condition. Yet He asks. And so what we have to think about, are we ready? Are we prepared to act without hesitation? And if we hesitate, we already know that Allah will question us, as has been mentioned in the Quran. And what is the matter with you that you spend not in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And to Allah belongs the heritage, or again, everything that is in the heavens and the earth. And Allah again says, "O you who believe, what is the matter with you that when you are asked to go forth to exert yourself in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you cling heavily to the earth?" What's the matter? Is it because of lack of knowledge? Is it because of lack of faith? You don't know. Allah commands us, all you believe, spend of that which we have provided you. Before a day comes where there will be no bargaining. Before a day comes where there will be no friendship. Before a day comes where there will be no intercession. And it is the kuffar who are the zalimun. It is the kuffar who act like this. And Allah says, believe in Allah and the Messenger, and spend of that whereof He has made you a trustee. Stuff, whatever we have, it is not ours. We are guardians merely. Allah entrusts us with things to see how we going to act with it. Just like you give people stuff to see how they going to act. See how you going to act. Let me hit them off with a little something. We do the same thing. No, he ain't really about it. She ain't really about it. Whereof He has made you trustees, and such of you as believe and spend in the Law's way, theirs will be a great reward. Say no more. But it's work. And that's what we need to remind ourselves. That it is struggle. That it requires us to assert ourselves. Constantly when we're being told, nah, by ourselves. And so I pray for myself and for each of us that when we are called to go forth and to spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we remember, the truth, the reality. The reality is that Allah, the Lord and Master, is only asking me to give Him back what He had already gave me. Remember that what has been given to us has been provided by Allah. And I'm just praying that I will not hesitate to remember this and to render unto Allah what is His by right. And it's really just that simple. But the simple things are the most hardest things to act upon. Just like we will spend the rest of our life trying to demonstrate La ilaha illallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, King of Salah.